Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to transform your sales department with Microsoft Copilot. We are in each other's company for the next 45 minutes, and I'm really excited to showcase how Copilot's cutting-edge AI capabilities can streamline not only your sales process, but enhance your customer interactions and boost your sales outcomes. My name is Sam Cooper. I'm the head of marketing here at Changing Social, and with me today, I have my wonderful colleague and head of strategy and change, Ed Sheath, who you will meet in just a moment. I've popped both of our emails into the chat for you now, so please do feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn as well. And finally, I will be monitoring the Q&A for you today if there are any questions. A quick note about housekeeping, in particular, a couple of options that may be helpful during this webinar. So to enable live captions, click on the settings icon, then titles, choose your preferred language there. And then for questions, click the chat icon, hit ask a question, and decide if you want to include your name or be anonymous. But for now, I will pass over to Ed to get us started with today's session.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sam. Welcome along, everyone. If you're based around Europe, good evening. For everyone else, good afternoon, and potentially even some good mornings. And we are, as Sam says, taking a look at Copilot supporting the sales organization and sales roles across your business. Quick little bit about me then. So been at Changing Social 2.5 years. I lead our global consulting team, wonderful teams across the UK and the US. And prior to that, a decade at Microsoft. So if it is not Microsoft, it usually brings me out in a rash. But the nice thing is we're focused purely on Copilot and M365 today and the interactions it has. We've only got 3 slides before we get into the live demonstration, so usually brings a smile to people's face that we do not need to sit through an entirety of a PowerPoint slide deck. So with that, let's dive in. We can see the wonderful multicolored Copilot logo bang in the middle of our screen, and we can see some of the familiar apps surrounding it. Today, we're going to have a look at a few elements. The ones that have been highlighted is what we will do our best to cover, and I'm hoping to sprinkle in a little bit of forms for you as well, specifically tailored to the idea of sales and selling and supporting that team in getting the most from their day, being as effective and as efficient as possible, leaning into Copilot. A couple of things to bear in mind when we talk about Copilot as a technology. We like to think of it in 4 key areas of how it can support us as individuals. So firstly, it can help us search for information. It can help internally, externally, it can interact with the web, and it can interact with our content. Secondly, we can summarize information neatly with Copilot. It can take a huge document, and we'll do our best to grab a contract and have a look through and provide us the key information. We can then engage in a conversational style with Copilot, and we can start to extract more information from the documents that we interact with every day. The ideate and create piece often get confused, so we can ask it to provide ideas and it will give back content that perhaps hasn't been included in a document, or it can give you ideas on questions. One that I use in some of our longer Teams meetings and discovery calls is, what questions could I ask as follow-up to the conversation so far? Or what questions have I missed if my customer is doing X, Y, Z? And it's a really handy assistant or Copilot in that experience that you're undertaking. And then finally, to create, we will have a look today at Copilot's ability to help you create material and focus on what's really important. Sometimes that starter for 10 in, say, a PowerPoint deck for a pre-sales material, when you're adding new slide and typing the title and thinking of your imagery, Copilot can step in and help get that starter for 10. And then you can focus on the value add from your ideas and your materials. Finally, then, before we actually roll into the demonstration, there is a key thing that comes with all AI. We've heard it over and over again, and that is the power of prompts. And the better our prompt becomes, the better Copilot interaction becomes. The nice thing is There is a general formula. So what is it you're trying to achieve? In this particular example, 3 bullet points. For what? Provide the context. So this is for a meeting with a client to discuss their brand campaign. If you have a source, you can focus on your emails and your Teams chat, or more importantly, you can actually hit /. So whenever you're using Copilot, feel free to hit / and it will bring up a prompt for a document that you may wish to use as reference. And then finally, the expectations. What would you like Copilot to do for you, whether that is draft a potential mail, create a potential flow, whatever that might be, you can ask. With that being said, we're going to dive into our demonstration. You will notice the little public announcement on the screen. On occasion, Copilot does get hung up. There are tens of thousands of people using this technology. I may have to hit refresh every now and then. So just bear that in mind as we go through this demonstration, that if you see me hit refresh or create new chat, just to give me a moment. So with that being said, let's dive straight into some examples. You'll notice straight away, I actually have Microsoft Edge open and in front. You'll see me predominantly operating in the web browser experience for this particular walkthrough. Everything you see will translate into the full desktop applications as well. We're just conscious that some audiences will operate primarily in web and not necessarily in the desktop apps. Don't worry, everything you see translates, and you'll be able to see the crossover if you are trying to follow along in the desktop apps. First things first, how do we get to Copilot quickly? Those with keen eyes in Teams will see that it has popped up on the left-hand side, or you can come up to the search bar here, copilot.microsoft.com, and we are into Copilot as an experience. You'll notice as well that you can flick between the web and work focus elements. And this is where you can really start to get your initial value with Copilot. Now, let's assume that I've been working in the sales team recently and I want to refresh my memory. I'm going to give Copilot a prompt for what did myself and my colleague Sam, who joins me today, discuss specifically about Copilot and sales. And it's going to go away and have a look at my Teams conversations, my emails conversations, and whatever else I might have had. And it's going to help me understand what we've been working on, what we've been drafting, and we can see some information starting to come through on what we've been doing regarding Copilot and sales. Further to this, we can make sure that we turn on web content. And when we ask that question, not only will it look internally, but it will also start to look externally for comparative materials that support you. Don't worry, it's not taking your details out, it's adding context to your usage. And we'll see that in our next prompt going forward. Another couple of good things when it comes to this type of prompt with Copilot, if you're in the sales team and potentially enjoying some vacation time in the coming future, all you need to do, help me prepare a handover document for my active customers and conversations for my upcoming vacation. And it typically looks about a month in the past, sees what you've been most active in, and makes a suggestion for a handover document for you. Likewise, when you come back from holiday, what did I miss in my 2 weeks or week off? Provide me a summary, and provide the summary in date order, starting with the oldest post. That can then help you prioritize your actions as you come through back into the sales team from your vacation. So let's have a quick think then. If we've operated in work already and we flip across to the web experience, and bearing in mind this toggle at the top, I'm going to just choose ChatGPT-4 to be more precise. And I'm going to take a bit of a wild statement that Microsoft is a potential customer of Changing Social. Of course, we do a huge amount of work with them being a partner, but I'm selling a service to Microsoft. Now, this could be any organization that you're working with. grab some custom questions. Have these on a Word document, have these in a team chat, have this information to hand. What questions do you always ask with your business? What do you really want to know about your organization you're working with? What are some key things to learn about that company's market that will help you in your sales experience? You'll see here, I want to learn a little bit more about their industry, their customers, what products, do they have a vision and a mission? What software solutions, etc. These are some pre-canned questions that we can quickly ask Copilot to support with. The nice thing is you're going to get a packaged overview of the companies and organizations you're working with. This is all information that's on the internet. You're not having to spend hours trawling through Google on different links and then potentially even different press reports, financial reports, etc. You'll see we've started to get the information fed back to us. You'll also notice that any recent press releases have been called up specifically with Microsoft, and you'll also see the reference materials here as well. For example, right here, mission and vision from Microsoft. You can click this, it'll take you through to where it's found this information so you can validate it. Taking that up a notch. So we've got our basic information in this instance about Microsoft. Let's say you've been prospecting a customer and you're looking to take this deal opportunity through, but you really need the help of an account team. You might need the help of a technical seller, whatever that information might be, but you want to bring those people up to speed. So now that we've roughly learned about the organization, what we could do is now kick across into a blank Word document. And with my sales hat roll on and wanting to support this opportunity, I'm actually going to ask Copilot to help brief me and help me support my team, whether that's a seller, internal, external account team, and/or technical sales. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come up to this little icon that automatically appears where it says draft with Copilot. I'm going to click on this. And I'm actually going to take the same prompt, and you'll see that all the questions are the same, but I am going to add one quick line before, which is create me a summary sales report for the following. Going to hit generate, and Copilot's going to do something similar to what we just saw, but it's going to do that creative stage for me. It's going to provide the structure and summary that relates to the questions I provided, and it's going to start laying this out and building it for me. We'll see that it might start going through different sections. It depends how descriptive you were in your prompt, and you can see the material being posted as we go. I'm going to just scroll up a bit and see, brilliant, it's got a summary. It's picked up the industry and sector. It started to extract the fact that I needed a mission and vision piece as well. It's now broken down the software solutions and the financials as well. So it's starting to interrogate this organization a little bit more for me. I'm starting to get a lot more information than I did in just my one line in that initial Copilot search. And within probably less than a minute, I've now got a fairly comprehensive overview of this customer, in particular Microsoft, and you could insert any potential clients that you have, and it will use the web to pull in the information to build your customer intelligence. And it can be pretty handy turning up to a sales call, whether that's pre-sales or coming into closure, with a bit more information so you're relevant to your audience and you're supporting them in their needs. Furthermore, you can tailor this, so you could regenerate, you could delete it if you think it's missed the mark, or you can add some additional prompts to fine-tune this draft. Make it more concise, make it more professional, make it easier to digest. If there's lots of times and certain flow of information, you could say create it in a table. You could also highlight certain elements such as these, and occasionally you'll see it gives you the rewrite and visualizes a table, We'll give it a moment, and I imagine it will say date and content, and then it will probably say the timings on the left-hand side. We'll see how it does. It wouldn't be a live demonstration if we didn't have a little hiccup on the way. This is what I said just before we dived in. Occasionally, we just need to give Copilot a moment to refresh. We'll come back in a minute and we'll try that again. So we've seen very quickly, how do we get into Copilot? How can it help you as an individual summarize information you've missed? How can it help you prepare information to hand over if you're going on leave? And we've started to see it pull together a summary sales report for an organization that you may well be engaging in. It saves you trawling Google, and no one ever gets to page 2 of Google. So if there are some key information points or data that you may have missed, it will pull that through. Now, it wouldn't be a sales demonstration if we didn't start to look at Excel. We will come back to Word in a moment, and we may well explore PowerPoint as well on top of that. But being in sales, thinking about our forecasts, thinking about our quarter results, thinking about our impact to date, who's done what, and trying to extract some intelligence from raw data quickly. It can be really helpful on a personal level, or a seller level, or on an account team level, that you can start to manipulate the data without it taking you hours and without it taking you to be medium to advanced in Excel. Now, there's a couple of bits I want to do straight off the bat with this information, and you'll notice it's already formatted as a table. Just a word of advice: when you click Copilot, it will not operate outside of a table. You'll see I've come outside the table and it's blank. I only work in a table. For now, make sure your data is formatted as a table and it will work absolutely fine. You'll notice the little preview mark by my cursor. I imagine when preview goes away, the power of Copilot will significantly increase when it comes to using Excel. So, firstly, you've got a ton of things straight out the back. Understand your data. It never hurts to click that as a default option, and it will start to analyze information. Then it will say, how many scoping calls are there? How many of the bottom 3 account managed by average sales process? It will give you a few little tips on how it might interact with this data. Now, I actually need it to do a task for me. I would really like it to insert a column that shows me if a deal is open or closed, and I define that. So it's using column K, so I'm being specific, and I'm setting my threshold of 100. So if this data has 100, it will generate me a column. It will show me the formula, so I get to learn on the way, and I can insert column, and straight away we'll see column L come in, and even at quick glance, I can see all the deals with 100 next to it have been closed. Everything less than 100 is open, and that is using my sales process as a determinant for whether it's open or closed. And of course, that then gives you the opportunity to go through and sort some of this information. Furthermore, and assuming this is quite a heavy spreadsheet, I might want to start doing some conditional formatting. So in column G, where we see the value of these deals, I actually need to pick out quickly what's more than 100,000 and what's less than 100,000. We'll see here on the right-hand side, Copilot's whirring away in the background. It's doing the if this, then that, and some conditional formatting for us, and we can see the colors have already popped up in column G. You can see it also tells you what it's done and how it's done it, and you can undo this action as well. Now, I'm going to take that one step further. I actually really need a visual when it comes to this data. I could click Insert, Bar Chart, Pie Chart, select it, and then play with the axis and the operating data to get what I need, or I can just ask Copilot. Generate me a chart showing the value per region and the account manager assigned to them. So we'll give it 2 moments to pull through, and we should start to see the value per region per account manager. It will make the best choice it can for visualizing this data, and it normally gets it pretty good. And I'm going to click Add to Sheet. We'll give 2 seconds. We now have an interactive data showing the value, geo area, and account manager. That took me less than 30 seconds to type the prompt and hit enter, and we're away. I didn't have to play with the pivot table. I didn't have to understand which graph is going to be best. And if I come back, I think it also, no, there we go. It just confirmed. I have created the cluster bar chart, and then we added it in as an extra. So you can start to see how quickly you can interrogate some of this information. And if you're getting customer data back as well, if you're in that pre-sales cycle, if you've got a Word document, an Excel, you can start interrogating the data within that document much quicker and extracting information out in a simpler way. And then just one more piece, maybe you want to start to analyze this a little more. Coming back to the main sheet with the main data, I actually want to calculate the number of days between the first call with this customer and the second call with this customer. It's going to pull together a formula that hopefully will compare C and D, and fingers crossed, there we go. You can see quite a consistent number of days. We aim for a 5-day follow-up as a minimum. So we can see good, we're on target, apart from this top customer where there's been 36 days between calls. Maybe that's something I want to take away and investigate, but the rest of our customers are hitting one of our key metrics. And some of those metrics that you are after might not be immediately available in the raw sales information. So using Copilot to extract what you need can be very valuable and save you a ton of time. Just a quick recap then. Opening your data in Excel, clicking on Copilot, making sure your data is in a table format, and then starting to use some of the suggestions from Copilot. And if you have some pre-made prompts, and I can't stress that enough, you will have seen me pasting prompts into these windows. Having some prompts that you use regularly on a Word document, on a loop, or even written, dare I say, on Notepad, it will help you cut down the time for writing the prompts. Another top tip when it comes to prompting with Copilot, you'll notice the microphone button. You can also press Windows H. It is easier to talk to Copilot in a conversational style than it is to necessarily type something out. I'll be the first to admit it feels a little odd speaking to Copilot, but actually it saves a ton of time and it makes your prompts flow a bit easier because you're not overthinking, have I given it the right context? Did I say the right thing? Have I typed it in the right order? You just speak it how you want it to come out and it will likely be a pretty good prompt off the bat. So thinking to sales and going into perhaps some contract areas and helping digest information, we are going to take a look at an example contract. And this is a completely fictitious contract that's been prepared. There's a huge amount of information in this. There are tons and tons of pages with a huge amount of legal piece in this statement of work and contract. And if you want to start interrogating and working with this data, come to Copilot, and then you can summarize this document. Now, I use this all the time, especially for MSAs, master service agreements, NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and any statements of work and pre-sales material that I either get back or provide. It helps me get through 20, 40, 60, and dare I say it, 170 pages much quicker. Once I've got an understanding of the document, what I understand are the key elements, I can then start to dive into the bits that I think are really important. Or perhaps there's something specific that I need to look for, either to make sure we've included it as an organization, or the company that's provided the information back has included. And I'll give you an example of that right now, and I will type this one out. Is there any info regarding Florida 768? Now, that happens to be a statute in the US that sometimes we need to follow when it comes to operating in Florida. And at the moment, there is no information, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I can come down to this document, and what I might choose to do is draft me a paragraph related to Florida 768 statute and keep it concise. I am now utilizing Copilot's drafting capabilities with its web connections to pull through something I know should be there, but I don't have all the information and skill set to write. The nice thing is, using this to draft the first pass, I can now say, okay, we've related to the statute. I understand that we're saying we agree to comply with it, and it has a generalized overview of what it is. I can press keep, and then I can start to talk to my legal team. And let's just say, for example, I want Sam to help me review this. So I would say, at Sam, please check from a legal point. I can either assign that to Sam as an action and hit send, and I'm immediately pulling in my support team, whether that's my sales support, my technical support, or my legal support, into something that I'm creating to get it out quickly to the customer, shortening my sales cycle, but more importantly, making sure that the compliance information is there. And I haven't had to read 20 pages, and I haven't had to use Control F. Nothing wrong with Control F, but unless you get that Control F spot on and you know exactly the word and exactly the topic you're looking for, you could well miss something. So it's always worthwhile now using Copilot to find the specific information that you need. So we've had a quick look at Copilot supporting you in your day through Teams. Find me my last interaction with person A, find me my last interaction with customer B, help me provide a sales handover document, help me organize this Excel into more attainable data that gives me insights back that I can use with my team. We've had a quick look at contract creation as well. And then those who've played with Copilot in meetings will already know the power. But if you haven't, I always recommend, wherever possible, turn on Copilot transcript in meetings. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Because one golden tip for anyone in sales or customer contacts or interactions where you're ingesting a lot of data and you're asking a lot of questions, with Copilot running, with the Meet app in Teams, and I'll just zoom in on that for you. If you don't have Meet, click the 3 buttons, type in Meet for the app. You will be greeted by this icon. Pin it to your left-hand rail. Firstly, it will help you with meetings, full stop. But in this particular case, you can see that Sam and I had a catch-up specific to this webinar, and you can search here. So in this box, you can search by customer, you can search by name of colleague, you can search by title or content or specific word. And when you then click View Recap, you're going to be hosted with a ton of information that AI has done for you. It will give you a summary of what's been discussed. It will suggest some follow-up tasks. Where has a person said they will do something? Where have you said, can someone do something? And where have you said that you will do something? Further to that, you can then come down here and you will see the talk tracks of who said what and when, and you can skip to the relevant time sections in this meeting as you go. Then, on top of all of this information that's provided to you, click Copilot and ask some questions. If you've been in a 45-minute or an hour-and-a-half scoping session or customer meet and greet, and you're thinking, what did that person say? I can't remember. Ask Copilot. What did person A say about topic B? Or what did person A mention about XYZ? You can be even broader than that and say, what topics did Sam mention during this meeting? And it will surface that information quickly to you. It takes a huge burden off your plate when it comes to note taking and engaging. You'll know what it's like to scribble down notes on paper and then try and keep up with the conversation as it's happening. If you've got 8 people on a call and you're the only person running that scoping session or that customer meet and greet, you want all the help you can get. You can also then take Copilot, use it to extract the notes and pass it to your colleagues from a sales perspective. Adding a little more to this then. We'll just refresh. Brilliant. You may be familiar with Microsoft Forms, and typically it's not something we interact with very often because making a form can actually be quite time intensive and it needs you to play with options and branching and a whole host of things. But now you'll see we can draft with Copilot. So we're going to ask it to create a customer form that captures critical information around their inquiry, their factors, their budget, and anything else that we can think of when it comes to a specific sales opportunity. You can get very, very detailed with this prompt. And again, highly recommend speaking this prompt rather than typing it because you're going to want to get a lot of information out quickly. So we'll click generate. And for those website requests, for those post-webinar form follow-ups, instantly, I mean in less than 10 seconds, I have a customer information, what's the project, what are we trying to solve, what are the driving factors, budget, a rough range, feedback, location, do you need someone on site, and do you have your technical architecture set up? That would probably take at least 15 minutes to build, possibly a bit longer. And if you're trying to proactively think of the questions as well, that can add more time. Once you are happy, click keep, and then you can go ahead and edit that information as you see fit. I will show you one more thing. I'm conscious that we are coming close on time. Sam, whilst I just pull up a different screen, have we had any questions come through in the meantime?
Not at the moment, Ed. We've got a very quiet group this evening. I do have a couple of questions actually, but I guess we'll wait till after your presentation.
Sure, no problem. Bear with me. I'm just spinning up a presentation on the side. There we go. So once we've seen the power of Copilot in the various applications, what we want to do is then perhaps make something a bit more creative. How can this help me pull together material to speed up my sales cycle to get this deal, this customer, whatever it might be, over the line? PowerPoint, the old faithful, also has Copilot embedded. And what we'll do is use this box down in the right-hand side. And there's 2 things I want to call your attention to. Firstly, if you have templated slides or an example presentation that you've used already, open that as a canvas. Provide the prompt and Copilot will do a much better job of hitting your branding, your colors, and your style. Make sure you don't override a presentation you need, so open it, duplicate it, whatever you need, and use that to generate your new ideas. I'm asking for a new strategy about marketing strategy about insurance in this particular example for a subscription specifically for building cars and pets. I've kept it quite broad and quite open But if you have specific material, and I'm going to zoom in for this, if you have specific material, / and type in what the document is you are after. You can then use that as reference material, either to build a better Word document or to build a better presentation. So if you have a statement of work that you want to use for materials, if you have perhaps a Word document laying out a service, you can use that to create a PowerPoint from. I'm just going to, in this particular example, remove that specific document, and I'm going to ask it to generate this marketing strategy for me. It's doing a number of things. It's looking at the web for information. It's looking at PowerPoint for design setup, and it's looking specifically at what I've asked it. Fingers crossed, it should whip up a few slides on this material, and it provides me that starter for 10. Just a very quick recap. If you have existing slides, make sure you use them, open up an existing document, resave it, and you'll have a better experience when you're generating content. Not bad. That took it 14 seconds, give or take. I have a title slide. I have an overview, so new insurance policies, the marketing strategy, the step-by-step plan. I have what we're trying to do and why, and it's extracted the key information from what I provided. I can see that it's then got a section per area, so buildings, car, people, and pets. And then we talk specifically about the strategy. What do we need to think from social media? How do we engage with these areas? And then coming down to even measuring performance on our marketing strategy. Like I say, if you give it more information, if you give it reference materials, it will be more specific to what you need. And more importantly, that is a pretty good base to start from. I do recommend you click on Designer, and it will give you some more options for each slide that it builds. With that, we are almost at exactly 40 minutes of my voice. Thank you for your time and attention. Sam, you mentioned there are a few questions. I'm hoping they're not going to catch me off guard, but open to
there's
the
not
floor.
much that gets past you, Ed, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Quick question from me, actually. What is the importance of having the perfect prompt when using Copilot? How important is it to understand how to use prompts?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I would say your most important thing is to give it a go. You're never going to get it perfect on your first pass. As long as you think, what do I want? What am I going to get if I give Copilot the most amount of information possible? And how and what should it give me back? So with those three in mind, you can pretty much get a good prompt. It's only going to get better the more you work with it. So if you say, create me a list, it's probably going to struggle. So you probably ask it, create me a list on my sales opportunities over the last 10 days. And then maybe it goes off piste a bit and it brings you in some emails. So you might say, create me a list over the past 10 days specific to customer A, product B, or even a colleague's name that you've been working with. So first thing, always just give it a try. You're not going to get it right first time, but it will then push you to then think, I will be more specific because the answer it has given me is too vague. Does that help?
Yeah, no, certainly answered my question there, Ed, and I'm sure it was helpful for the audience as well. We do have another question. Now, this one might stump you, Ed.
Okay.
Does Microsoft mine the data for future AI use?
Oh, good question. Good question. So the short answer is if you have a Copilot license for your business and you are logged in, and let me just show you what that means. I'm logged into my Changing Social account. You see the magic protected here, and you can click on it for more information. The short answer is if you are operating in this way and in this fashion, then no. The slightly longer answer is you need to be mindful and take responsibility of how you're interacting with AI. If you are going to copilot.com and using the web version for free without logging in and without giving it any corporate details, and you choose to upload a document, probably not the most sensible thing to do given your company's privacy policies. If you are doing that with other AI tools, I would say immediately, yes, it will mine your data. But if you are operating within the Microsoft paid for 365 Copilot license and you have logged in and you're operating in work here or in Teams or in Word or in PowerPoint, it is yours and yours alone, and it goes out for the large language model and it goes out for web content, but it does not take that information with it. So hopefully that answers it. There are a few wizards that Microsoft provides. So there's the Copilot setup wizard, and there is the Copilot privacy and protections page, which is first and foremost when it comes to Copilot. Bear with me 2 seconds. Sam, I'm just going to drop this in the chat and you can publish it out for us, hopefully. I will also make it as an announcement because I've just realized I can do that too. Perfect. Did I miss any other questions that came in, Sam?
No, but last question for me, and I think it's a really important one. I was actually at an in-person event today and chatting to a few of the sales folks, and there was an overarching concern, which I believe I know the answer to, but I will pose the question to you, Ed. Will Microsoft Copilot replace human workers?
You had to get slightly ethical, slightly philosophical on me right at the end. I think we could all debate this to the moon and back, but GPT-4 has been around for nearly a year. Copilot's been around for over 6 months. Will it replace human workers? My view is no. I think it will enhance what we have the capability of doing because it enables us to do the more valuable creative stuff. And I'll give you an example, right? Making this PowerPoint from scratch is laborious. It is slide after slide, image after image, typing or copying material across. The building process is not where we add a huge amount of value. The refinement and creativity piece is where we add a ton of value. So even with reference documents, even with reference materials such as / executed contract, so that Copilot knows what to look at and where, even with that, it will fall short of the mark. It might not understand your specific context. It might not understand the customer's exact need, and the power that it brings to us as humans, which is an odd phrase to say. You can focus on the important information in this PowerPoint. You can focus on your talking points and your delivery aspects. Too many of us get caught up in the word for word reading on a slide, whereas now we've got a nice starter for 10. We add our creative flair and we deliver a higher value experience out the back. Also, it's actually enabled me to do more in my role than I did before because I am able to tap into skills that I don't necessarily have at my fingertips. Excel is a good example. I can use Copilot to support me be better in my role because I'm average to poor at Excel.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it on that last sentence there, Ed.
Always, thank you.
If anyone does have any questions that they'd like to take offline, please do email myself or Ed after the session. I've posted our email addresses in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to assist with any of your queries. So that concludes today's webinar, pretty much bang on time, which is good. Thank you very much for your time today. Massive thank you to Ed for that as well. And from myself and Ed, have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. We hope you found this webinar useful, and thanks again for your time. Bye-bye.